So, all right, 23 of you here already, 10 thumbs up. Be sure and hit that like button. We'll get more people up here into the live stream. I'm going to be out here for about an hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes or so. I got to go get my hair cut later, so got that scheduled for this afternoon. Anyway, got a few links down in the description for you guys. Wanted to talk about what's really happening here because, all these articles are coming out, all this news talking about Americans spending like crazy, but yet you hear about this retail apocalypse taking place, right? So are Americans spending like crazy, or is this retail apocalypse actually taking place? Because you think if like Americans are spending like crazy, then why would there be like this retail apocalypse? But really, this was called out quite a bit, quite a long time ago. Many economists were calling this out, and I was as well, saying that retail was dying on the vine. Now, I work a retail job. I work at a hardware store. I do retail sales for a living. Hey, Jaws, what's happening, man? And and I saw this coming. In fact, I'll leave a link down in the description of this video talking just about that very thing, where I had called this moment out, saying that retail was slowing down and that we were going to see, issues coming in the future. I had also predicted a wave of bankruptcies quite a while ago, and described like in pretty good detail my experience that when a company had shut down, and that was the most popular video I think I've ever done. So I left links down in the description for both of those. But what's really taking place now, like with this retail, we have to think like this is full on bullwhip effect. I mean, in my opinion, that's exactly what is happening, because this is what I thought was going to happen, months ago, when I heard about all the stuff that was being ordered and traveling here from China and being stuck. When it gets stuck and there's no way of getting it through because of the trucking issues, rail issues, freight issues, whatever comes from the breakdown of the supply chain, preventing the manufacturers of getting those goods into the hands of the retail consumer, the customer, then you're going to start seeing prices start moving up. And that's really where I felt a lot of the inflation had come from. But what these retailers experienced was a huge demand, and they weren't able to get this stuff. And so what they did is they started ordering. They started ordering a lot of stuff, but the stuff wasn't coming through. So they ordered even more of it. And when it did come through, because there was so many orders, they started getting allocated, meaning that if they ordered 10, they got 3. So they started ordering like 30 so they could get their 10 that they had ordered, or whatever it was. Well, as you go through the line, the distributors, the manufacturers, they don't see this like obscurity that's actually taking place, where this panic buying, this allocation that is taking place. What they see is a lot of orders, and so they start pushing a lot of stuff out there into the system. Well, what do we have come from that? We had a lot of warehouse space getting built and filled up. Well, this was like, as an excuse people were using, was the breakdown of the supply chain and the disruption of the just-in-time delivery service. Well, they needed to build warehouses to hold this stuff in order to, be able to provide the things that the people were needing whenever they needed it, and not have to rely on this just-in-time delivery service. Well, the problem with that is that the just-in-time delivery service is by far the most efficient. And now that things are starting to free up as far as the availability of freights and trucks and, containers and all this other stuff, the just-in-time delivery service is now beating the warehouses, and the people who are stuff in warehouses sitting in inventory is starting to feel the pain from that. Now, when it comes to the consumer themselves, during the pandemic, yeah, there was a lot of demand for stuff. People wanted furniture and computers and cookware and clothing. They wanted all this stuff to be different. Everything that they had in their life, they wanted something different because they were locked down at home, and they certainly didn't want their old life. When you have a stimulus check, enhanced payment, or unemployment, don't have to worry about paying rent. Why wouldn't you spend your money on all kinds of stuff? And so this huge demand of stuff just overwhelmed the supply chain, overwhelmed the manufacturers, overwhelmed the distributors, and they all thought that there was this overwhelming consumer demand that just simply wasn't there, or it wasn't lasting. I mean, it was there for a moment, but it wasn't a lasting consumer demand. And so as the pandemic came to an end and the lockdowns came to an end, and people were no longer worried about, getting sick, they wanted to enjoy their experiences. And this is exactly what happened, is that people started getting out of like wanting their stuff, right? Wanting these new computers and furniture and all that other stuff. They've already had that for the last 2 years. They don't care about that anymore. What they want to do is go off and enjoy being outside and being around people and being at concerts and shows and sporting events and all that other stuff. And so this is really what has ended up happening to most of these, and what I feel most of these retailers, is that they had this idea that they were going to have this overwhelming consumer demand that was going to last. It just simply wasn't going to be there. And now the people who are spending like crazy, they're not spending it down there buying stuff like that. They're out there spending it, enjoying themselves on experiences. And so this is really what's happening out there as far as the economy and the spending of people's money, or how people are spending their money. Now, what's even worse about it is that the consumer is not really spending this money. I mean, sure, on a lot of necessities because food's getting expensive and stuff like that. But when you think about it, if you're spending a lot of money on experiences and at the same time consumer debt is going up, you're spending money, like that's bad debt, right? I mean, you're using debt to enjoy the experiences. Or I'm sure a lot of people are using the debt to buy necessities as well. But this is how I see the economy rolling right now, is that it's really more kind of like in my opinion, it's more of just that showing of the separation between the rich and the poor. You think about it, if people are spending money on a luxury such as experience as opposed to necessities, that's like a separation. You have half the people who are buying necessities and half the people who are enjoying themselves, right? Or, I don't know if that's an even split, but I'm just saying, how you get what I'm getting at. All right, 241 of you up in here. Right on. I can hardly see the screen. Get up here. There we go. Okay. Now I can see it. Let's go back up to the beginning here. All right, checking in. I'm here all-nighters always. Man, you're always like the first one here. Right on. Framing and listening. Very cool. Hi, I'm not me spending. All right. Hi, everyone. Okay, greetings. Greetings and good things from Canada. Right on, Thomas. Hey, Uneducated, how you doing, bro? I'm doing awesome today. Let's see, we had baseball tryouts for young Freddie, and I'm gonna go get a haircut later, and I don't know what I'm gonna do after that. I'm in Vegas for the first time in 100 days. I've not seen it this crowded since 2019. Can't believe the spending people committing to. Again, Vegas, that's an experience, right? That's not necessarily, that's not a necessity that people would be spending there. That's like something that they're trying to enjoy. Working the plumbing electrical aisle at Home Depot, copper, CPVC, and braided hoses are in short supply. Oh, that's interesting. I work at a hardware store myself. I'm not experiencing that. Slow and methodically get out of the dollar. Yeah, I think a little differently than that. The dollar is strengthening. I hear articles, people always saying that the dollar is on its way out. I don't see that yet. I see the dollar strengthening. In fact, I see the dollar going into a as long as the Federal Reserve, excuse me, so long as the Federal Reserve maintains their hawkish tightening position, I do not see where the dollar is going to weaken from here. I think buying opportunities both in the stock market, real estate market, cryptocurrencies, not so much gold and silver. Like gold and silver, I think can actually rise with the dollar. But everything else, like if you're going into gold and silver, then I understand, yeah, maybe slowly get out of the dollar. But if you're thinking of buying anything else out there, any kind of asset, except for maybe like treasuries, like, I mean, I guess you could buy treasuries now and the coupon would be, be worth it to you, the yield that you would get. But, when it comes to like where the interest rates are going to go from here, I cannot see how the dollar is going to do anything but get stronger. Right. And I know a lot of people shake their heads at that, but that's how I see it. Even if people in foreign countries wanted to get out of the dollar, the exact act of trying to get out of the dollar would actually cause the dollar to strengthen. So no matter what I see from here, so long as the Federal Reserve maintains this hawkish position, I just don't see how the dollar can do anything but strengthen. So, Yeah, so Jeff, if you, I mean, I do agree, slowly and methodically get out of the dollar if you're getting into like precious metals or into another, like, I mean, what do I know? I'm not an investor, so maybe if you have some other place that you could go with it. But, all right, panels two. What does that say? Oh, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin over time. Worst case, move to El Salvador and surf. Love it. Yeah, I could do that. um, let's see. Live for today. Hey, I am quit a high-paying job to start working on myself. Good for you, man. Investing in a good time. Yeah, good afternoon. I just paid off and closed another credit card. I only have one now. Well, good for you. SLATR 24, Slater 24. Man, I'm starting to get like congestion going on here. All right. It's like the sign and drive event for Volkswagen. Banks are paying 4.5% in 12-month CDs. Yeah. And so okay, so think about this. Let's 4.5% on a 12-month CD. Okay, so for $1,000, you're gonna get what, 45 bucks? Is that right? Did I do that right? Yeah. So for $1,000, you get 45 bucks. For $10,000, you'll get 450. For, $100,000, you'll get $4,500. For $100,000 tied up in a bank for 12 months. So $4,500. I mean, I guess that's quite a bit of money for $100,000, but like, I don't even have remotely close to $100,000. So like, I like the $4,500 that you would make off of that CD. Is it really worth it? I mean, yeah, I guess, if you're really just not going to do anything with that $100,000. But to me, like, I don't know, I would rather have the opportunity to jump with that 100,000 at something than to tie it up for a $4,500 gain. But I don't know. I mean, to each their own. All right. Hey, get out of here, James. I know what you're up to. Hello, sir. Come on, give him some likes. All right, come up, man. Give him some likes. Yeah, thanks, E. Have you been working out? No. Slater 24, congrats. Feel great having no card payments. Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I had credit card debt for a really, really, really long time. And the day I paid it off, in fact, there's a YouTube video that I did on it. You can go find it. The day I got out of like credit card debt, I went down and pretty much I had stuffed envelopes. And I said to myself, the moment that you have stuffed enough envelopes, because I would do $1,000, seal the envelope up, do another $1,000. And I said to myself, like, once you have enough money in these envelopes to go down and pay off all your debt on your credit cards, do it. All right. So I was paying my debt off and I was stuffing these envelopes. And one day, boom, that met that day. And I went down and did a video and showed myself down at the bank paying off my credit card debt. And I've never gone back. I mean, I do use my credit card. So, I mean, I use, I use them and I pay them off every month. And I pretty much had used them to build up my credit, because I had terrible, terrible, terrible credit. And so I just get a credit card, and then like 2 or 3 months later, I got another credit card, and then I get another credit card. And what I would do is I would make like $100 purchases on these credit cards, and then I would pay everything but $5 off. I still do that today. I do not pay my credit cards off completely. I leave $5 on my credit cards, and if the next month rolls around, then I will go out and make like a $20 purchase with it just so I can pay $15 off on it. But I always maintain a balance on my credit cards, and my credit score is like, I don't even know, it's 810, 815, something like that. Yeah. And from somebody who had a terrible, terrible credit score, that's the only thing I did. I didn't use anything else, just credit cards to do it. So, did I get a super chat down there? Yeah, I sure did. Hey, Isaac, thank you very much for the $5. Bullard said recently, forward guidance reduces the lag effect of raising rates on the economy. How fast do you think we are feeling the effects? Okay, forward guidance reduces The lag effect of raising interest rates. Um, I do agree with that. Yeah, I actually I do agree with that, but I don't think it's I I I don't know like to what percentage, right? Does Bullard mean by this? Because really, it's yes, it does. Okay, so let's try and understand what it is that Bullard was saying here. When the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, the time it takes from the time that they raise the interest rates to the time that actually impacts the economy is anywhere from 6 months to a year, 18 months down the road, right? So 6 months to a year, 18 months down the road, this is where the true impacts from the lifting of the federal funds rates actually has that true impact on the economy. Okay? So there's this lag time that takes place. And this has always been like a very common thing stated within the Federal Reserve, and economists talk about this all the time. Now, what Bullard is saying, and I'm sorry, who brought that? Isaac? Yeah, Isaac. And what is Isaac has brought up here, and this is a really good point too, because what Bullard is trying to say is that the forward guidance, when the Federal Reserve says, yo, this is what we're going to do, right? The markets go like, oh crap, we better get ready for this, right? We better start conditioning ourselves so that we are in position for when the Federal Reserve does their raising of rates, right? So basically they're telling the markets, hey, we don't want to shock you with anything, right? So don't be shocked when we do this. Be prepared, be ready for it. And so by giving this forward guidance, the markets are like, hey, cool, we're ready. You know, we're going to be ready for the impact of these lifting of Fed funds rates. And so what Bullard is trying to say is by doing that, by telling the markets ahead of time that we are going to do this, that it reduces that lag effect and it brings it closer to the time that they started to state, that they started to use that forward guidance to tell the markets, hey, this is what we're going to do. Okay. So that to me right there is exactly the monetary policy that the Federal Reserve uses. All the rest of the numbers and everything else, that's like whatever, you know. I mean, that part is neither here nor there really on the grand scheme of things. But since we have nothing else to talk about, we have to use those numbers, right? But that forward guidance, that monetary policy that they use, that credible threat, that is really what is pushing the markets and what's causing everything to happen. Now, does that really have that much of an effect? It does. Think about some of the statements when the Federal Reserve went to go raise interest rates before anything happened. They made the statements, they put out the forward guidance, and they said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And the market started to react to that. And then people said the Fed lost control because the markets were reacting prior to the actual lifting of Fed funds rates. But the Federal Reserve had been stating it. Yo, we're going to do this. The credible threats are coming out there. Go get yourself prepared for it, right? So these markets went ahead and got prepared for that credible threat, and then it actually happened, and they weren't shocked and awed by the event of it. So now, when we think about what's happening today, if you look back, I don't know, 6 months ago, the Federal Reserve made a huge statement saying we are no longer using the forward guidance. We are now taking that out of our monetary policy, right? And this isn't part of our system any longer. But yet, what do you hear taking place all the time, right? Think about like what Bullard just said. I mean, that in itself is a credible threat. This is how they move the markets. They want the interest rates to go higher. They want those consumers to stop going to the movies and going to the ball games and doing all that other stuff. Because, yeah, they're done at the retailers. Obviously, they're falling apart. But the people that are out there still spending, they're still taking out the debt. And they're like, man, you're taking out debts to go to the movies? Keep lifting the interest rates, right? Or keep raising the interest rates. I got to stop using the word lifting because some people think it's about removing. Raising the interest rates. Keep raising them, right? Did I get all that right? I think I got that right. Okay. Where was I? I was up there a little ways. All right. Hello from southern Manitoba. Right on. Thank you for being here today. Go hit the like button, guys. We got 108 likes, 335 of you up in here. Let's see if we can get up to like 500 people. I'm going to be out here till, at least another 45 minutes or more. Jose, nice to see you again, man. Hi, Simon. Did you get any snow? Yes, we did. Well, yeah, here. I can show you behind this building right over here. Hold on. there's a little bit of snow still left right over there. I don't know if you guys can see it. So yes, we did get some snow, and it was pretty well frozen over for a little bit, but not too bad. I mean, I got to work just easy enough. All right, a Mexico-American pipeline attack thoughts. To be honest, I got to do more research on that to kind of, give you any kind of real insight into it. Appreciate your channel. Scott over in Knoxville, Tennessee. A crow's fly or two away. Huh. This is free advice. Give the man a like. Thank you very much. All right, good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida. Good afternoon. New cars at ports and railheads starting to slow. I picked them up from the places on the regular. A lot of the cars coming in were ordered when supply was short during supply chain issues. All right, new cars at the port and railheads starting to slow. Huh. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is really where I think the real shortages are going to come in. You think about it, there was a slowdown in manufacturing in China, and these retailers are shutting down, right? These retailers are starting to collapse, the brick and mortar stores, and it's been going on for quite some time. So if there's nobody who's there supplying it through warehouses, and the people who are actually manufacturing it weren't manufacturing because they were all locked down because of COVID and stuff, what do you think is going to happen here pretty soon when those warehouses empty out? There's a gap in production taking place, and then there's this overwhelming supply here. I mean, do you remember me talking about this with lumber? I mean, give it some time. We'll see what happens here. Food is getting very difficult for farmers to grow, and clean water is also becoming rare. These are the most valuable things. Yeah, absolutely. And this is, again, I think about what the food shortages are going to be like. Okay, so everybody heard about big agro, right? I mean, big farm. They're corporate farming as opposed to the individual farmer. There was a time when everybody in this country, like 90% of the people in this country were farmers, right? Everybody farmed for themselves. They had to grow their own food to live. All right, that was a long, long, long time ago. Now it's like 5% of the people farm, right? Not even that. It's probably even less than that. How many people actually farm in this country? I don't know what the exact statistics are, but it's quite small. So everything is kind of reliant on these corporate farmers. And here's really where the problem starts to realize that it ends up being just a profitable thing. And now it's profit always for even the individual farmer, even the guy who's just trying to grow as much as he can on a handful of acres that he has. It doesn't matter. It's all about how much profit you can make. Now, if that farmer is growing carrots and he has 2 acres and he can profit for a living off of growing 2 acres of carrots and able to distribute them out to the people around him, he's going to do it. It'll just happen that way. But if there's no way of profiting from doing that, or there's no way of distributing that around enough of it to be profitable, then there's no way you can do it. And this is really where it ends up being that most people end up having to rely on major corporations to be able to just sustain life. I mean, there's no way that it can't, we could say, man, grow your own food all you want, but there is no way that there is enough space that people have when it comes to city living that you could even remotely come close to growing your own food. Although people have gotten quite creative at it, I do have to give it to them. Still, to think everybody to do that, it's probably not going to be there. But now when it comes to being able to find a spot to grow your own food, you may not be able to do it in your little apartment, but you shouldn't have to travel too terribly far to find a place that you can grow food. And that's really where the people's mentality should start going to, because if you're going to be reliant on these corporations for food, you're not only going to get crap food from it, because they got to go for profit, right? And you just got to think that's what it's all about. And it's not greed or anything else, which it is, but it doesn't matter. That's how it works. But that's also the way it's going to get to you. Otherwise, you're going to have to figure out how to get a farmer a few miles from you to grow 2 acres worth of carrots and be able to have that guy distribute it out to everybody, and him have or her have a decent life for doing that. I mean, does any of that seem like it can happen? If you can figure that out, then it would work. Otherwise, guess what? You're going to rely on corporations. Credit at all-time high. What happens when people start to default? I can't tell you, man. I mean, when people start to default, they start to default. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna start suffering the pain of loss, right? And now, whether that's from investment or repos, right? I mean, somebody's gonna start feeling loss when the defaults start to happen. Does your state recognize PM as legal tender? It does. My state doesn't. I understand 14 states do or have applied for this. Thoughts? Um, yeah, I mean, I like the idea of using gold and silver as legal tender, especially when it comes to, being able to facilitate the trade. Um, how those laws work, I think, is kind of dependent upon the state, like whether the state charges a tax or a sales tax on it or something like that. The federal law is much different. So really, I think at the federal level is going to be like really where it's going to be much more impactful. But to see states actually pushing towards this thing, once you get the majority of the states to do it, then guess what? And then it starts to become more of a reality. But when it's just to deal with the transferring of goods and services, as opposed to like tax collection from the government, and how it is that like the currency from the government, like how you like facilitate the trades that way when it comes to a fiat currency. Like you can be down at a store and say, hey, I got this silver coin, and you can trade it right now. Like you can go to anybody in any store and there's nothing illegal about that. There's like, that's totally legal. So it's not like it's illegal to already trade in silver and gold. The store owner has to accept it as if it was fiat currency. That's how it's legally done, right? So you can go to a store, as long as the person on the other side is just like sticks their hand out and you drop it in there and they accept it, that's legal. You can do it. Now, on the federal level of things, when it comes to like, legal tender or being able to pay taxes to them, I don't know if that's the case. Like, how do you do that? Can you go back to them with the silver eagle and say, hey, I want to pay my taxes with it, but I don't want to pay you with the face value of this thing. I want to pay you at the current spot price. Well, then you got to convert it to fiat, right? Because you're trying to pay it off in fiat. Anyway, there are a lot of thoughts inside of that. I mean, it's that one's hard to wrap your head completely around, but I mean, I like the idea of like right now, I mean, if you could just get people to just do it, just accept silver and gold, then there's nothing illegal about it. Like, I mean, you can just do it. It's just the person in the store has to accept it as fiat. That's it. Yeah. So right now there's no law against it. All right. How's the real estate market there in Oregon? Well, I can tell you in my area, it's expensive. Even though the house prices have come down, and actually in some cases quite a bit, but from the incredible highs that they have gone up to, I don't see where they're like, hey, look at these awesome prices. I mean, not even. They're still like just ridiculously stupid high. Well, no, they've gone from ridiculously stupid high to ridiculously high. Let's go that lower. They're just no longer stupid. Well, no, it's still stupid. I shouldn't say that. They are stupid high. Okay. Hey, the infamous NYC, thank you so much. Farmland for the $5. I appreciate the super chat, man. Farmland is being scooped up, but rental property is sitting. I'm seeing homes listed 160 days, sellers not budging while prices are 50% from 2020, or plus 50% from 2020. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is another thing that I had a thought about, like when it comes to the real estate market. Um, okay, pretty much when you think about houses out there, a house is a house, right? Whether it's a brand new house or one that's already existing. I mean, now I do understand like a brand new house has a lot of amenities and a lot of new appeal to it. But for the most part, when you're talking like just real estate market out there, you don't really think much about the house being 5 years old or 8 years old and whether or not that house is like, worth more or less. It's more just the condition of the house, what it appraises for, stuff like that. Okay. Now, when it comes to a brand new house and buying a brand new house or buying a used house, right? An already existing house, the person who is buying it, whether they have cash or have to take out a mortgage, it's really not a difference to them what kind of house they're buying, whether it's new or used. They're just how they come up with the money, right? Whether you already have it or you have to borrow the money to do it. Now, the bank might look at the loan and say, okay, the house is worth this much, and so we're going to, be able to, give you this loan for it. But you're going to get the interest rate the same, whether you're buying the new house or the used house. Okay. Now, things are a little bit different when you think about the big-time home builders, right? Because these big-time home builders are now offering buy-downs and incentives. They're not really reducing the price, but they are bringing the capabilities of the buyer up to that price by buying down the interest rates. So if you think about this for just kind of a second, a brand new house coming from a home builder, from these particular home builders, now has an elevated price tag to it because what they are doing is giving the buyers the capabilities to buy it at that higher price tag. But if you build a brand new house and you're just a regular old builder like everybody else is, you can't offer that, right? You can offer it down here, whether you build the exact same house or not, right? Right next door, right? Right next door to each other. Doesn't matter. You can't offer that. So now these guys have the new house price, and then there's the used house price, whether it's actually used or not, right? But not part of this brand new club. So I'd imagine that these guys who can't build a house and sell it for what they're not going to be in the game, right? And so what will end up happening is you just have the used house price and the new house price. I don't know. This is like, as if it continues, I guess is what I'm kind of getting at. The interest rates on mortgages continue to elevate. It's just going to cause the incentive programs to grow that much more prevalent, right? Because that's what's going to be available for the home builders to offer, and everybody else will be out of the game. And it'll just keep reducing down the new homes to just a handful of the home builders out there who can offer brand new homes, where everybody else won't be able to do it, won't be able to offer that same thing. I don't see how this could possibly add to the supply of homes, at all. I can only see where it can actually solidify the capabilities of being able to provide homes to only the people that are selected to be able to live in homes, right? And I hate to put it that way because it sounds so like, I don't know, like New World Order coming down on you. But if you think about like what's happening right now, that's exactly what has taken place. Like they're concentrating the ability to build a new home down to just a handful of people, and only a select few will be able to get a new home. All right. Infamous NYC, thank you very much for the $5. Seeing people who bought property for a year or two made no changes to the home and want 50 to 100K more in price. It has come down a lot more. Well, I think that's coming to an end. That whole flipping of homes and stuff like that, I don't think that's going to be nearly as much as it once was. I mean, obviously it's not going to take place unless you do some serious work to the home. All right, I don't accept fiat currency anymore since 8 months. Barter your way out of everything possible. The banks will keep property costs as high as they can. Real estate soft in Appalachia, but construction is booming. As long as the sheeple keep paying taxes and employing these criminals, we're all goners. Bring the guillotines out. Infamous, how if the housing market has not crashed? All right, let's see here. I saw a 2x4 8PT went from $468 to $578 at Home Depot. Yeah, well, I can imagine that you're gonna find like fluctuations from yard to yard to region to region, no matter where you're at. Sorry, somebody's passing by here. Um, but when it comes to like, a move like that, you got to think like there's a lot of reasons that prices of pressure treated and plywood would move. You got input costs that go into it. You got mill availability. I mean, depending on what happens at that particular location, there's only a handful of people who make pressure treated lumber. And if you think about it, there's a process that goes with it. So if there's any kind of drop in inventory or unavailable lumber at any given time, trying to process that lumber and get it out to market takes time, and there's only so much space and availability for that to happen. So there can be gaps in there, even though you have the prices go down, just the availability of the lumber is just not there. And if it's not there, then the prices go up, even though you might find, like, 50 miles away, the prices are a lot cheaper. Well, it'd probably be further than that. Like, say 200 miles away, the prices are a lot cheaper, or it might be slightly cheaper, but that's probably the reason why, is because they're able to source it from an even further distance where it is cheaper and it is available. So, this stuff doesn't flow like just perfectly even across the entire board. A lot of people kind of look at lumber like silver or gold or something, where you can just go to like a computer and say spot price is this is what everybody's charging. It doesn't work like that. That's the whole point of like Random Lengths report and Madison's Lumber Reporter. They are in contact with mills all over Canada and all over the United States, and distributors. And so they compile a lot of information from what all these different people are charging and what shipping costs are, and they put it down into basic average. It doesn't mean that's exactly what the lumber prices are selling for in your spot. Like, you can go to the mill and they'd be like, hey, we're charging this. You call up another mill, they're charging that, right? It's because not everybody's doing the same thing. All right. And when the prices on the property in your area are finally come down and you're underwater, will you honor your mortgage or will you walk? First of all, I have a very serious doubt that my mortgage is going to go underwater, and no, I won't walk. And yeah, I'm going to honor my mortgage as long as I live in a house. I mean, I can't pay rent. Well, I guess paying rent around here is incredibly expensive. It's like $1,800 a month to rent like a single apartment. In fact, I should have left a link to it. I was reading an article about a guy who lives in Portland, who lives in like possibly the worst rental unit ever. He says like the people upstairs are druggies and it rains down on them, but he says the rent is just so good he just can't give it up. And it's like $1,200 a month, and I'm thinking, man, this sucks for you guys. Um, I don't want to go back to that. Like, I mean, yeah, it sucks. I feel burdened by the house when I think about a 30-year loan. But as far as like what the benefit of having my own property to live on, even if I was renting that property for the price I am, I probably would do it because of like the convenience of being, excuse me, the convenience of being on such a peaceful piece of property is just so much better on the family and everything else. So I don't think I could find any place around here that would suit my needs as well as what I'm paying for my house right now. So yeah, no, absolutely, I'd honor it. I feel like worse than 2008, other than the stock market going down. Borrow the money, you mean currency? Yeah. Oh, Lord, yeah, I should have known that was you. I can hardly see the name on here. All right, good to see you here, brother. I hope rates keep going up, making almost 5% on my money right now. It's crazy, man. That one book you have read must have a lot of pages dog-eared. Uh, you're talking this one right here, right? Damn right. I have read this book so many times. You know what I like best about this thing? Is the similarities that have taken place back in the 1700s that still exist today. And people are like, man, that's outdated. You can't follow that thing anymore. And I'm not looking to follow it. What I'm looking for is the similarities, right? And there's so many of it. Like, once you understand the increase and decrease to money of a state and how new money comes in and pours into luxuries and drives everybody into foreign production as the domestic manufacturing leaves, This guy explains that so well. And people go like, we need to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And I'm thinking, how are you going to do that? How are you going to bring this manufacturing back to the United States? I saw an article from a guy who just did a great job explaining. I mean, the article was like really like done well. But I'm thinking even within the own article, he says you're going to have to hit them with tariffs and subsidies, right? That doesn't mean you have a profitable company. It means you're forcing it to take place. That doesn't provide you with a good manufacturing job. Yeah, it seems it's similar to a good manufacturing job, but a good manufacturing job doesn't have to deal with tariffs and subsidies, right? And that's the problem. Once everybody has risen the standard of living, right? Enjoyed that new money. You have the new money pouring in. You start diving into luxuries, right? This is all the Cantillon effect. He describes it really well. Then you can see how come it is that we have a reduction in population and fertility rates. Why is China working so hard to reverse the fertility rate that they were so like adamant about trying to control? They were like, oh no, we got too many people being born here, this is a problem. And now they got a really big problem with the fact that people are not having kids, right? And so now they're going to pay them like $3,000 to have kids, like go out there and start reproducing. And they know that this is a problem. I mean, Cantillon described it perfectly. He says, like, states where higher standard of living and people are enjoying the new money coming in at the highest level will have a reduction in population. It's just, look around. I mean, you don't have to come up with environmental causes or, social problems or anything else that's causing this. It's an economic event. I mean, it's straight up. That's, it's obvious. We know after you understand the essay. So yeah, I do have a lot of pages dog-eared. A house is a liability, not an asset. It's so true. I mean, I totally relate to that, Lord. I mean, I was trying to conduct my life where I was 100% into assets and zero liabilities. That's what I wanted things to be like. And unfortunately, I was just put into a position in which that I had to take on that liability. I do look at it as a liability. I look at it as another 29, 28 year, however many months, 28-year, 9-month liability, right? That's the way I look at it. But it's actually a liability that I'm feeling is pretty convenient for me. So at this point, I'm cool with it. The price, the asset price, the liability price, whatever you want to call it, is much more than what I owe on it. So whatever. I mean, I'll at least have a place to live right now. All right. Uh, many thank Fed Powell raised 25 points this week, and many people buying bonds since buying almost 5% on bonds. Well, here's the thing. If you buy a bond, okay, if you buy say you buy a 10-year treasury, right? You buy a 10-year treasury and it's at what? I don't know. Is it at 5? Is it at 4.95? What is it at right now? I don't even know. It's like a 5% or 4% or whatever it is. I don't even know what the damn 10-year treasury is right now. Holy moly. It's moved so fast. Anyway, whatever it is, if you buy it at a current interest rate, right, the current yield, and then that yield rises, the price of it goes down. That means if you want to go sell it, you would end up taking a loss on that bond. That means you have to hold on to it until maturity of it. That's the thing about holding on to bonds. So yeah, you could get some of the short-term bonds, the 1 month, treasuries or something like that, and those are paying fairly well. But still, again, you're tying your money up for an entire year in order to get the yield out of it, that higher yield. So again, $100,000, rolling that over every month into 1 month treasuries or something like that. I mean, sure, if you want to do that every single month, I guess that's something that can be done. I'm not arguing like how you play with your money. I'm just going to be in a position in which that I feel that I can jump at any given moment. Like if I see it, I'm going to do it and not have to like, okay, I got to get out of this particular thing in order to get to that, because you never know where you're going to be at that time. All right. A $15 an hour job is like $10 net pay. Yeah, it kind of is. All right. What does that say? Robert Ludlum? They're they're consumable if you don't maintain them. The modern construction, a lot could be considered consumable. Yeah. But do you think about investing in blue chip investor cars? Uh, not me. I'm not much of an investor, guys. Like, I mean, people ask me about like where to go with the money, and I think that's probably a decision that you need to make for yourself. Like, that's like really where you need to go. Like, if you are relying on somebody else to say, "Hey, you need to put your money here," then you're going to have to rely on them to tell you to put the money out, right? So, if you don't feel confident in your own decision to place your money somewhere, how are you knowing when to pull it back out or when to sell? Like, you're not. You're going to be like, in a panic. Like, who do I listen to get my money back out? So it doesn't really matter what somebody else. I mean, take their opinion for it. If they don't have an opinion, well, whatever. But but don't like rely on somebody else to say, do I do this? All those California $1 million dumps getting wiped out by storms. Home prices is coming now and could see another bubble in the banks and housing market again like 2007, 2009. I don't. I see like if I don't. I don't see a 2007 to 2009 event inside of the housing market. I do not see that at all. That was caused by a toxic mortgage-backed security market that was created from bad lending to people who just simply should not have gotten a loan. That is not the case today. Now, what is the case today is bad loans going into luxury apartment buildings. That might be the next shoe to fall. Like, I could see something like that. This is corporate style credit defaults, right? And I don't know exactly like how big that it would go, but you're starting to see the examples of it taking place. These higher interest rates are rolling people are having to roll their debts over into higher interest rates on these luxury apartments, and the people are not filling these luxury apartments like they once thought that they were going to when they started the build of them, right? As because you think about it, the build of it started a long time ago. Once you get it to once you get the building accomplished, right, and you start filling those apartments up, and you realize, man, we don't have the economy to deal with this luxury apartment, right? There's just not enough people coming into it. Then you roll your debt over into higher interest rates, so not only are you having to pay a higher interest rate on your debt, but then you also don't have the income coming in from filling these apartments. That is starting to spread across the nation. I am like, not only did I hear like locally like anecdotal evidence of it, but I'm starting to find the articles popping up and having a few of them sent to me. So this is really, that's where I think the trigger is going to start taking place. Now, I don't think it's going to happen in housing. I think people who have bought a house are people who are capable of buying a house. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten it, right? And as far as like a wave of foreclosures, that's going to come from people who have lost their job. And I haven't seen the job losses yet. So even if you have job losses, you got a year or two after that before you start seeing the foreclosures from it. I wouldn't look at housing. I would look like at luxury apartments for the trigger, right? I think it's going to happen there. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen there. I don't know, like it could happen there. Like that's a hot spot for me right now. All right, what time is it? All right, 48 minutes into it. I just keep buying shares of energy and material companies. I have more faith in companies that actually produce goods. In order to cool spending, Fed will most likely raise rates 3 times this year. Reduction of barrel production by Russia and Saudi Arabia by over 1 million barrels. We haven't seen the pain yet. That's going to be painful for themselves. Anytime they ever reduce that and the price of oil starts to go up, I mean, who ends up producing a lot of oil and selling it is the United States. Like, the United States does well when oil goes up. I don't know why people get all upset about that. I mean, I understand why you get upset because it's your energy cost going into driving and stuff like that. But when people like saying this is going to be so painful for the rest of the world, it's not. It's actually beneficial to the United States as it just pours more new money coming here. Uh, I think I've seen huge pressure cookers in Eugene. All right. Oh, hey, right on. Let's see here. Looking for a multi-family, six-bedroom, at least two bath to chop up, bring in maid, cook, change for monthly food to max gains. People need to eat, and it'll help me compete with more financier listings. The infamous NYC. Thank you so much for the $10. Those elevated rents won't last long. You can take that to the bank. Yeah, I don't think the bank wants it. All right, glad to see you have another spike in subscribers, another 3,000 or so. Yeah, Jaws, isn't that incredible? I had a video. I was complaining about about YouTube, like showing me no love by not like spreading my video around. And then bang, all of a sudden I get this video with 260,000 views or something. 3,000 new subscribers to the channel in the last like week. Holy moly. Thank you for subscribing if you're new to the channel, by the way. Really appreciate that. But yeah, what an incredible thing to have happen. I mean, and I could totally tell it was like the YouTube algorithm spreading it around. Like you can actually see it on almost to like a timed every 12 hours it would spike again. And man, at the height of the video, like at one point I was watching it, watching the analytics on it, and at one point the video was getting 12,000 views an hour. And I was thinking, holy moly, I'm just like excited when I get 12,000 views on a video in general, let alone on a video in an hour. So yeah, I definitely picked up the YouTube algorithm on that one, and it definitely brought me a lot of new subscribers. So I really appreciate all the new subscribers who have come to the channel. Thank you. In what year did people start buying and paying for homeowner insurance? Yeah, I don't know. Hey, the algo sent me here. Well, thank you very much for joining. But long term, it promotes growth for the country. History will always repeat because human psychology will always be the same. Glad to hear that, bro. People are our age don't have that kind of attitude. I am the same age as you are, and I see so many folks just carpeting. What is it? Carpeting out. They don't seem to be grateful. Is it crapping out, maybe? Carpeting? And not grateful at all for the opportunity. Yeah, I mean, opportunity is everywhere, and right now it seems that there is so much opportunity. I just don't understand it. Um, I mean, I don't know. Like I see a lot of people, and it's not necessarily like I don't know. Just so many people just seem to be stagnant. Like I wonder, it's just like what happened in their lives that they lost like this ability to just go out there and strive for something that's far beyond what they have. And I don't know, like a lot of people, I think they just get like fed up or just maybe just like complacent to things. I know that happened to me a lot, but I was like drinking and I blamed a lot of it on depression and alcohol. Once I got out of that stuff, like I couldn't seem to sit still. Like I was like, man, I got to do something. I got to figure this out. And so I wonder if that's what a lot of people are suffering from, is just straight up depression. Like they just can't seem to find that motivation because they just rather just sit around and forget about their problems by watching TV and getting drunk. Yeah. All right. History repeats because people are dumb. Yeah, Milton Friedman, perhaps. Murray Rothbard, perhaps. Thomas Sowell, perhaps. I could go on for days. Is Cannon Beach, Oregon, a nice place to live? Well, it's a nice place to live if you have a lot of money. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Anywhere on the Oregon coast, pretty much from Astoria, from Seaside to Tillamook, is going to be. I mean, there's some small communities up and down the coast that are okay, but they're pretty small, and they're kind of distant from really anything. So like if you go to Cannon Beach, yeah, it's a really beautiful little town, and there's really nice shops and little touristy things going on there. Nice beach atmosphere, really nice homes, stuff like that. But it's expensive, you know. You $1 million homes there and stuff. All right. What are you investing in or waiting to invest in? I invest in right now. I pretty much am holding cash straight up in the bank. I'm not worried about the bank closing, shutting down or bank runs or anything like that, although I probably should be. I'm not. I do have in multiple banks. I don't use just one single bank. So I do have cash in several different banks. I don't really invest into a lot of the stock market. I do invest into Altria, ticker symbol MO, just because it has a decent dividend yield to it, and it's Marlboro cigarettes and Anheuser-Busch, so I know a little bit about addiction, so that's the reason why I invested into that. It's done well for me, actually. It's like while the rest of the stock market is kind of you know not performing as well as I'm sure some people would want it to. The Altria, the MO ticker has done quite well, for me. I mean, I shouldn't say quite well, has not performed like incredibly well, but hasn't done poorly, is what I should say. It's done well. So anyway, that's what I invest in on that side. I do try to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. I did that really solid for an entire year, throughout 2021, I think is when I did that. I dollar cost average throughout most of that year. Right now, that particular portfolio, because I didn't sell any of that, is incredibly under from what I could have sold it for at a profit at one time. In fact, I said to myself, dude, you should just go ahead and sell this. But I'm more about trying to acquire one whole Bitcoin. So I'm not really into the selling of Bitcoin, but more of the acquiring of Bitcoin until I get to one. But that's a speculation. And then, yeah, gold and silver, same thing. I try to buy like once a month, although recently I haven't been buying any gold or silver. But I try to buy at least once a month on gold and silver, whether it's just 1 ounce or, a 10-ounce bar or something, whatever I can happen to afford at the time. And so that's really where I put my money. What I'm intending on looking for is when the spread between the 5-year and 30-year began to widen. That was Alan Greenspan's, what he said was corporate management's willingness to invest. Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I figure if corporate management is willing to invest, then I should probably be too. Now, what the condition of the economic environment is going to look like then, and what I feel is going to be a popular thing to invest in, I have no idea what that's going to look like going into the future. I mean, right now, I'm assuming AI technology is going to be running rampant in 10 years. It's going to be everything. All the conveniences of life will just be automatically brought to you before you could, by the time you practically think about it, right? Google will know exactly what you're thinking at all times and be able to just naturally just provide you with the convenience of offer right there. And I think that's going to be so prevalent that I don't know how you invest into something like that, but I just see that happening. I mean, it's already starting to take place. You're hearing people talk about it, and they're working on it. How do you prevent that from taking place? I don't know, because it's definitely on its way. So anyway, or how do you invest in that? I really don't know. So anyway, but that's kind of like my thoughts on it. Wow, look at all these comments. 455 of you up in here, right on. 455 of you. You can go ahead and go. Let's try talking. Go hit the like button. I will be out here for, let's see, I got that appointment at 2. So let's go for at least another 20 minutes to a half an hour. How much power do I have? I got 19% power, so I don't know how long we can go. All right. Let's see here. Man, don't let chicks use you for drinks. Tell them to buy your drinks. Yeah, I'm not here to give dating advice like I would know anything about that. All right. You won't actually acquire one real Bitcoin. You'll have a bunch of fractions of one. Okay, yes, okay. Yeah, I agree. It'll be a bunch of fractions of bitcoins, but I want to have accumulated at least one bitcoin worth of fractions of bitcoins. So yeah, I agree. How convenient AI can replace our need to think. Yeah, that's what's scary about it. Like, think about it when what is most concerning is the offer, right? To know, like, it already happens so much. You talk around your phone and you go and pick up, open up Facebook app, and then there's an advertisement for something that you were just talking about with a friend, and you know that they're listening, right? Same thing with Google. This happens so often. Now, right now, it's just an offer for an advertisement or something. But what if it comes down to, a time where it's like, hey, wouldn't it be great to go visit this particular area? Like, yeah, hey, you've been thinking about, like, the beach lately. There's this hotel that's for offer because they're trying to advertise this hotel, or for whatever reason. But then it starts guiding you, like, hey, wouldn't this type of vacation be good? And it starts sending you, like, the links to that and suggesting that on a regular basis, and it becomes more of a friendly way of doing it, like maybe through text messages and I don't know, uh, in addition to, like, other AI assistants, like, you got your car driving you somewhere, and it's just like, hey, it's getting around lunchtime. I'm sure you're probably hungry. There's this restaurant. Wouldn't you like to go visit that? And then it'll just guide you to these areas, and then pretty soon you may not even have to think at all. You just be like, well, wherever Google takes me, it takes me, and I'll just be there. And that's what a lot of people might be behaving like. They won't have to think at all. And yeah, it can very well go to something like that. Bitcoin will go under 10K before it hits 100K, and that's fine with me. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I think Bitcoin will do 90 to 150K this cycle. You're lucky to have 30-year mortgage rate. They don't have those anywhere outside of America, and I can tell you a global recession could play out differently all over the world. Yeah, well, I think so long as the dollar continues to strengthen, it's going to cause massive, massive inflation all over the world. The dollar strengthening is going to cause food prices to increase. I mean, everything is priced in dollars, including food, and the United States produces a lot of it. I mean, sure, there are other nations on the, if you were to count, like, per poundage, I guess, yeah, there's other nations that grow more abundance of food as far as, like, how much there is, but as far as abundance for their people, the United States grows far more abundance than anybody else. And so when it comes to, world reserve currency, it's the dollar. So when you got nations who are going hungry, having to convert their money over to a stronger dollar takes ever increasing amounts of their currency. That means that the food that they are buying is going up in price, and the United States is the one who is exporting most of the food. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be really painful for people outside of the United States as the dollar continues to strengthen. Hey, Jaws, thank you very much for the 4.99. Thanks for the powerful message, Yui. I will catch the rest of this one later. Well, thank you very much, Jaws, for being here, man. It's good to see you. And thank you for the 4.99. I really appreciate the support. All right, 440 of you up in here, 247 likes. Go hit the like button, please. Sitting on the sidelines and waiting for the market range to bounce back down to the low of the range around 3600 on the S&P 500 have been paying me over 4% in the money market funds. All right, man, all this Bitcoin FOMO, I love it. Fear of missing out. Yeah, don't fear of missing out on Bitcoin. I mean, there's Bitcoin everywhere. I don't know why people are like, you lost all your money in Bitcoin, or you're gonna go be billionaire off of Bitcoin. Oh gosh, just get out of that whole idea and mentality and just try to buy Bitcoin so that you can understand what it is. Like, get a Coinbase account, get a private wallet, buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, send it over to the private wallet, and, like, then try to understand what it is. Like, once you have done that and you start getting a feel for it, you start understanding why it is that this whole, like, all the currency is going to eventually get tokenized and go digital. And if you are fighting that, you're going to like, you're going to be lost. You're going to be like excluded out of the system. It's not a matter of like, beating them. You're not going to beat them. And it's not a matter of joining them. It's understanding what the system is going to and to try and best position yourself to take the most advantage of it. People who are avoiding it at all costs will not be able to take advantage of it. If they, people who are just going to be like, well, it comes, they're not going to be able to take advantage of it. It's the people who truly understand what is happening. They're saying, hey, I'm going to position myself like this for when this comes. And whether I want it or not, this is the way it's happening. I'm going to do the best I can for myself. That's the attitude that you should take towards it. If you have like this, no, it's the beast system and it's like nothing I should ever touch and you'll go to hell if you do. Well, okay, man. I mean, I don't think that, Hey, thank you very much. PK Psalms? For joining the channel, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining the channel. So I put out I'm trying to do at least one weekly video where it's members only to try and give you guys some incentives, some perks for joining the channel. It's $1 a month, right? So $1 a month, $12 a year, you get to support the UE channel. And I really appreciate it. I try to put out I think it was a fairly decent quality video, the last one we put out. And, I'm thinking of other things that we could do to try and bring some better ideas for for the members, for the membership of the channel, but I want to be consistent with it. And once I start something, I want to be able to go through with it and not like hey, I can do this and then I can't do it or something like that. It's not the way I really want to do it. I want to be very consistent with anything that I do start with this channel. So as of right now, I will be very consistent as far as putting out a membership only video. And as I, start to figure out what it is that I want this, the live, like 4-member only live streams to be like, I think it really needs to be a bit bigger and, be a little bit more on topic with like, say, guest involvement and stuff like that. So once I kind of figure all that out, we'll have that on a lot more consistent basis as well. But thank you very much for joining the channel. All right. If people lose the ability to think because a computer does it for them, they will become very vulnerable. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, people are already incredibly vulnerable in every way. Like, I mean, everybody is so sensitive. Everybody is worried about offending other people. They really don't know how to conduct themselves. I mean, just from experience on my own, when I realized that I was in like feeling depressed, right, and drinking a lot, trying to cover a lot of things up, like what is it that I'm trying to cover up here? What is it that I have going on? And I realized that, most people, including myself, do not live a conscious life. Like they are conducting themselves in a way that they are thinking society is expecting them to conduct themselves. Like even if they are hardcore, right, they are still behaving and doing things that they feel other people are expecting them to do instead of doing things that they expect of themselves, right? I mean, this is really where I feel that a lot of people are having like connection issues with other people, is because they're trying to conduct themselves in a way that other people would be approving, and that's not the way you do it. Like if you are doing things like that, then what you are doing is acting. And people don't like actors, because what you end up doing is you let the real person out every once in a while, and then they don't recognize that person. You're unfamiliar and you're weird to them and stuff like that. And so if you're acting around people in order to meet their approval, then you are going to create a situation in which you are not only depressed, but that you don't really have good, honest connections with people. Be yourself, be honest, be truthful, be like, if somebody is going to be upset by the way that by something that you enjoy, well, then that's their problem, not yours. Go enjoy your life and conduct yourself in a way that is approving to you and not to other people. Once you start doing that, you're going to find that things are a lot easier. How did I get on this? What question was that? Oh yeah, being vulnerable. All right. How much? I just saw a power thing come up. Okay, I got 15% power. I'm going to give it like another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm going to go to get my hair cut. All right. Let's see here. If Bitcoin don't break up to 30K and breaks a little lower, you're going to 22K and we'll see from there. All right. Look into Hex, check out YouTube channel Crypto Coffee. Hex is DeFi where you maintain your keys at all times. Yeah, thanks for the links to the trends too. I appreciate that trends report. Thanks for replying to my email. Just giving something back. Oh yeah, you bet, man. I try to like I understand, guys. There is a lot of emails that come in, and I do some I mean, like there's a lot of times I'm like, "Oh, I read the email. I got to think about that for a minute. I answer back to it or something." And I don't answer back to it. I have so many people who email me at times, and it's cool. I don't have a problem with it. Please send me emails. Don't stop doing that. But if I haven't replied to an email that you really feel that I should have replied to, please send it again, and you know, and I'll try to respond to it. But yeah, there's times where I will like, I mean, you know, there's times where I've gotten 50 emails in a day, like legitimate, not spammers or anything like that, and it was just like, holy moly, that was a lot. I must have really touched on a good subject on this one, and it does happen, and I try to reply to all of them, but that's a lot. And you know, there's also a lot of people who are trying to, you know, conduct business, like they want to, you know, collaborate on a lot of things, and so I got to kind of filter through those things to see if it's scam, because I get a lot of scammy things that come in. So it's just like, okay, well, I got to kind of filter through those and, you know, examine those things to see if they're legit or not, and if it's something that I need to respond to. Sometimes I wonder if I've like completely missed an email from somebody that I like, who, you know, somebody really profound or something, you know. It was like, oh man, I really would have like responded to that if I had realized that email came through, because I'm sure there's some that I've missed as well. You know, because I just don't have time to, you know, to go back through, you know, months of past emails to see if there's anything I've missed. Thank you, Josh, for the $1.99. I owe you way more. Hey, bro. No, man. You know, it's cool. It's cool. Um, Anyone else seem Chinese Temu advertising on YouTube like crazy? You know what's funny about YouTube advertising or Google advertising is that it's geared towards you personally. That the advertisements that you see and the advertisements that I see on Google are not the same. They're really geared towards you and what they think that you're going to be interested in buying. Uh, and not all of them are. I mean, sometimes they're just blanket advertisements, but yeah, there's a lot of them that are geared right towards you. People think we're getting 2021 all over again. We ain't in that environment anymore. Most Bitcoin miners do TRADAC on the QQQ or NAS. That's the best advice. I recommend my dad buy 100 bucks in BTC. He did finally. He is now educating himself on it. Yeah, that's really all it takes. I mean, once you get a little bit of it, then you'll kind of understand. Like it's because everything is confusing, you know. I mean, you don't know. You hear all these stories about it. You think like, oh man, if I get into Bitcoin, I'm going to be considered a terrorist or a drug dealer or something. And it's not. It's like that's not the way it is at all, you know. And then once you get your hands on something, you're like, oh, this isn't no big deal. We can beat them. Hey, let's do it. Like if you can figure out a way to beat them, if you want to go back to like a gold standard, I'm ready. Let's do it, man. I'll do gold. I mean, I'll do silver. I'll do barter. Right? I mean, let's figure out a way to just barter everything. We won't even need gold or silver. We can just trade our skills, you know, and what it is that we can build or create. I mean, that's the way I would really like to go about it. And you know, screw all the currency systems and all that other thing that's out there. Will I think that happen? No. I mean, do I think we're going to a digital currency? Yep. Do I think everything's going to be tokenized? I sure do. Everything's going to be surveillance. Everything is going to be as draconian as you could possibly think it's going to be in your imagination. It's also going to be incredibly convenient to live that way. So if you're, as long as you're aware of it, then, you know, do the one thing that really matters. Encrypt your private messages with your family. right? That's what really matters. That's the one thing that nobody's business should be involved in. Like, if you're using YouTube, that's their platform. I'm grateful for YouTube to allow me the capabilities of putting out videos and live streams on their platform and to be able to generate a little bit of revenue from that. I am very grateful for YouTube for that. It's changed my life. I do not have a problem with YouTube at all in any way. This is their platform, and I thank them for it. Now, when it comes to my personal life, when it comes to, the discussions and conversations that I have with my family, I want that to be encrypted. I want that to be private, and I have no intentions on letting anybody, including the government, ever let in on any of that. Those are my messages, right? And I intend to keep it that way. So understanding it like that, then you can go out there and live in the society, right? But trying to protect yourself or trying to like hide from the government is going to immediately put you at the top of the list. You do realize that, right? So give it to them. Just give all this stuff because they're already taking it from you, right? And then you don't have to have it taken from you. You can just give it to them. But protect what is most valuable to you, right? Protect what that privacy between, you and your wife, that's not for anybody else, right? Don't use Facebook Messenger for that. You go and download Telegram app and do a private messaging between the two, end-to-end encryption. If you can't do that, learn how, right? I mean, that's important. Okay, let's see, what time is it? Okay. Don't fight the system, learn how to use it to your advantage. That's exactly right. I mean, you think about it. If you were in a fight is a negative. A negative is a negative energy that is a needy energy. That means that you have to have something on the external fixed in order for me to have a life that is good. I don't need the external, right? I don't need that. The external is whatever. That's not my problem. My problem is me. Like, I deal with my problem. Right. So if I'm looking for the external to change in order to fix the problems that I have, it won't happen. There will always be a problem on the external. Right. So don't fight that. Fighting is a negative, and negative will always bring you negative. Right. Be positive, positive things will happen. So if you look at the world as a negative thing, then you're going to find negative things coming towards you. But if you see the negative out there and you're like, okay, well, that's not my problem that's out there. I mean, it is a problem that exists. I have to be aware of this problem, but I'm not going to focus my life on being issued by that problem. Like, if that problem is creating an issue for me, you need to get out of here, right? If everyone knew how things worked, it wouldn't make any money. No, that's for sure. Money just gets transferred from people, just don't know what to do to those that do. Uh, let's see here. The CSX Railroad has 13 GA filings showing 4 funds has bought after earnings 2 weeks ago above 31 and high after earnings. All right, don't be a gambler, be the casino. Currently converting US dollars to Mexican peso at a great rate. I need a strong dollar. All right. All my ads on YouTube have been like war games. Go figure. YouTube Pro. I don't watch ads ever. Good for you. And that's another thing. I mean, if you're ever watching YouTube and ads are popping up and you don't like it, just skip to the end of the YouTube video and hit replay, and then there's no ads. At least that's the way it used to be. I don't know if it still is. Maybe they fixed that recently, but all right. Okay. Why did you ignore the email from Warren Buffett wanting to come on your investment? Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a spam. I didn't think it was really him. All right, got to remember we had an artificial recession starting 2 years ago. We may see growth for a few years. I don't think that was an artificial recession. I think that was the real recession. I think they covered up the real recession by bailing it out with the special purpose vehicles and, all the stimulus packages to try and deal with the pandemic. But I think the recession was real. I think they just covered it up, and called it a like a COVID-induced recession. Remember, it was the COVID recession, but it was a real recession. They just blamed it on COVID. In fact, wasn't Peter Schiff like talking about it like extensively during that time? He was just like, he was using like the analogy of like, like being sick already and then getting stabbed in the stomach, like stabbing yourself in the stomach or something. You just like it's saying, "Oh man, look, I'm all cut up here," And it was like, but you're already sick. You can't blame it on that. I don't know if that was right. I don't think that analogy was right. I'm just making that up. Okay. Let's see here. I tell you, gold will be goodbye in the next week or two. Is that because the dollar is going to get stronger against it? I'm just curious. I mean, because it seems the dollar has gotten stronger over the last few days after like weeks of being weaker. How you gonna spend your Bitcoin if the power goes off? How are you gonna spend anything out of a bank account if the power goes off? That's like, how are you gonna buy anything from any store? Right? My store the power goes out. We have a generator. If the generator doesn't work, you have to have cash. That's it. Cash only. Right? And I bet if you were there on the right day and you had an ounce of silver, you might be able to come into my store and I might buy that ounce of silver off of you. So, yeah, you can come into my store and buy it as long as I'm there with cash. All right, just have to be patient. Gold next Fibonacci level. You want to buy gold at the best price, let it set up. All right. All the YouTubers that called Hex a scam 3 years ago are now Hexicans themselves. Yeah, I see that you get a lot of interviews on that, man. Let's see. Ivan on Tech is one of the biggest crypto YouTubers. He now supports Hex. All right. There's backdoors to all messaging apps. Yeah, okay. I agree on just about all of them that could be the case, right? That would be out there. Now, when I think about what Telegram has offered as far as their bounty, right? That's a pretty good offer. And to know that they have something that's a little different from everybody else. Like I use Telegram. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, right? But at least in my mind, it is. When you have Russia, Iran, United States all completely pissed about the Telegram app and about Telegram messaging service and how Russia damn near shut their entire internet down trying to prevent the Telegram app from, being able to process messages through. I have a tendency to think, okay, well, this is one that's really like a thorn in the side of governments. And if it's a thorn in the side of governments, then I love it. I absolutely love it. So maybe they figured it out. Because I haven't heard a lot about it over the last, year or so. So maybe they have figured out the backdoor message, backdoor capabilities of being able to get those messages. But, as upset as they were over it, and when, I had heard about how the Trump administration considered anybody who had an encrypted messaging service as a possible terrorist, I went and downloaded every single encrypted messaging service I could possibly find just so I could be accused of it. I mean, it was like, because that's how irritated I was by that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, that's the way I kind of look at it. It's just like if it pisses the government off, then I like it. Especially when it comes to being secret. All right. What time is it? Okay, how much power do I have left? I'm almost out of power on it. Okay, 10% power. Yeah, I'm going to have to go here pretty soon, guys. All right. CNBC are saying, and Jamie Dimon saying, we haven't been in a recession yet Thursday, but could hit 6 more months with the Fed, Powell raising rates. Yeah. What is it? I mean, what's the worst part of a recession, right? Bailing out the corporations and high unemployment. I don't think we're going to be bailing out the corporations. I think they've already been bailed out. And as far as high unemployment, we got a ways to go on that one, it seems. So, messaging through text should only be used for logistical things, never used for conversations. Yeah. You don't have a phone charger? I didn't bring one, no. And no, normally I don't charge my phone in the car. I usually charge it at night when the phone is off, plugged in. All right, set timers on your messages on Telegram to delete over time. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks for the ear candy as we work. Yeah, you bet, all-nighter, man. Thanks for listening, man. All right. For donation of 1 Bitcoin to the World Food Program, you can feed 293 families for a month with emergency food rations. I am in the spirit of feeding hungry people during my food fasting for Lent. Well, good of you, Dark Brother, man. I mean, that's a commendable thing. All right. How many people were saying Bitcoin to 100K when it was 69K? How that dropped to 15 feel not too good? I don't know. Calling 6 on the dice. The main economic thing is that housing market has topped slow crash for the next few years. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know. Celebrate has YouTube channel. If you want to hold the bag, you do. If you want to hold the bag, you do. I can't tie my money up like that. Alrighty, guys. This has been a lot of fun, but I am headed out to go get my hair cut and find a charger for my phone. I don't know if I'll come back out later on today. I think I have some things that I'm going to be doing with the family here later. I know Freddie wanted to work on the chicken coop a little bit more, so maybe I'll be working on that here later. And it is a fairly nice day out, so it would be nice to go like maybe to the beach or the park while it's still, early enough. Anyway, have a great afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We had 370 of, gosh, I'm having a hard time talking. 370 of you up in here. 306 likes, $31.98 in super chats. I so appreciate them super chats. You guys are so awesome for supporting the channel. And I can never thank you enough for being here. It's just been a life-changing thing to have YouTube and to have you, as the audience being here and trying to figure out what's going on in the economy, going through these discussions, trying to figure out, some of these life lessons that we've all gone through and, how it is that we deal with it. Uneducated economist. You guys let me know.